Okay, everybody. So I kind of jumped in here impromptu. I've been kind of studying this morning, and I've also been looking at a few things with regard to the amount of fentanyl coming into the country through the southern border. I don't have, I don't have everything that I want to post here real quick because it just takes a lot of time. But the fentanyl that's being manufactured and brought into the nation through China, also the prison systems that have unloaded their unwanted throughout South America are pouring across the United States border. We have military age men from China being captured on the border. We have no idea how many are coming through. I'm going to go through a list of things, and then when I post this, I'm going to put a video clip from Pastor Mark Biltz, who I've known him for going on 17 years now. I know his heart. I know who he is. I know what kind of person he is, and I understand what he's studying. I understand the research. I understand the blood moons and all that stuff. I also understand, um, a lot of different things that most of us in the faith-based community have not researched out, in particular when we're talking about the academic world and the seminary world or the church world, if you will. This is a short little thing because I've been saying this for about, I don't know, 3, 4 years now. I've always seen the blood moons and the solar eclipses and how they're tied to the biblical festivals. I've always seen them as like a warning, like a big warning. And of course, Pastor Mark Biltz, he brings the concept that this is now. In fact, he told me about 7 months ago he began to realize that these are warnings about war. Lunar eclipses having to do specifically with Israel, and solar eclipses having to do with the nations. Now I know there's a whole lot of people out here who are just oblivious to this and or don't believe it. But I've always believed this. It was kind of revelatory for me. So yesterday, Pastor Mark Bills brought some information to the table that I understood. I interviewed Dr. Bill Warner. He's somewhat of an expert on Islam, understanding the Hadith of the Quran and the teaching of the Muhammad. I interviewed him several times. So I got kind of the inside scoop on how Islam and Sharia law are conducted and also how Islam moves into communities and then takes them over, usually through a political means. So I'm seeing this happen in the United States on steroids. Pastor Mark Biltz brought to bear a lot of the conversation that I know about. I've talked about it, but how the college campuses are being infiltrated with Islamic dollars, particularly from Qatar. I want you to watch the video when I get done. I made a little clip of it. It belongs to El Shaddai Ministries. This isn't something I did. I just clipped it. But I want America to understand that there is a coordinated, literally a coordinated attempt by several nations to bring this country down, to divide the people, to corrupt our children sexually, immorally, the drug situation. Let's turn them all into drug addicts. The all of the sexual activity that's being done with the taking of children and selling them for sex, the slave trade. Uh, there's just so many things that are that are. It's like a coordinated attack on the United States of America. And what I'm trying to get people to understand is that this coordinated attack is not happening because America's a wonderful country. No, it's because America tossed out the principles of God and the biblical statutes and commandments and laws of the Bible. So I understand that this land was given to the United States of America through a royal grant. Now, the world would say, oh, we stole it from the native people. I believe in the God of the Bible, so I understand that this is his domain, his world. And so when I'm learning how he does things, how he communicates, almost exclusively through events happening in Israel. The Bible was written by the Jewish people out of Israel. The Messiah, Jesus, some people call him Yeshua, his proper name was Yeshua. That all happened in Israel. He died in Israel. He was resurrected in Israel. Moses was from Israel. when we start looking at the entirety of what this whole Bible is trying to communicate to us, it starts out by saying, okay, we're going to create a nation called Israel, and then I'm going to reveal myself through all of the entire world over a period of time through this people. The world that has been reconstituted, born again, if you will. It's the only nation in the history of the world to maintain its identity scattered all over the planet. And it's the only nation in the history of the world to have its ancient language, its Semitic language, restored, the Hebrew language, what I'm talking about. There's so many things that are, when you understand and when we look at it from a non-religious perspective, I really, really mean that. You start seeing patterns. Pastor Mark Biltz started using the solar and lunar eclipses on the biblical festivals or the biblical feast days, and he began to see how those things were telling a bigger story than the prophetic nonsense we see on YouTube across the board. Now, I don't agree with everything that Pastor Mark talks about. I'm kind of graduated from where he is with what he does, but through him, I learned a ton of stuff. My mentor with the academic world and understanding how things worked in the ancient world, well, that comes from Dr. Dina Dye. We just did a show. And there's others. But I'm so far away from the religious understanding that the Christian and Catholic world brought to bear that I have to return everything back to its root, which would be Israel. And so God said that the nations would be all upset over Israel. Israel would become a consternation. We're seeing that happen. We're seeing anti-Semitism rise up in our youth. By the way, all of those riots you see happening on the college campuses they're not just students. You have to understand that Qatar, and the video that I'm going to attach is going to explain a lot of this, has been infiltrating the college, collegiate level education system with all kinds of anti-Semitic rhetoric, and also this entire lie called the Palestinian people. There was no such thing as a Palestinian people. You can't name any of their kings and queens. You can't name any of their ancient wars. You can't name any academic. So nothing. You can't name anything that the Palestinian people have contributed to society on any level in any century over the last 2,000 years. So there's a lie that's been promulgated largely through the Muslim Brotherhood that these people deserve their own homeland and that Israel is an occupying nation. None of that is true. Not one iota of that is true. But it's been a lie that has been fermented into the cultures for 70 years. Well, if you keep your eyes on Israel, you're going to see some things that are biblical. And I absolutely believe, Pastor Mark wrote this book. Okay, it's called America at War 2024-2026, The Sons of Darkness. Now, you can take from the title whatever you wish, but on page 124, he says, and he wrote this book 7 months ago, he says that Iran will invade and attack Israel in the spring of 2024. It's right there on the page, okay? Now, how did he know that? Because he's lining up repeating patterns based on the eclipses and the historical account of events that happened with Israel concerning an individual named Amalek. So I kind of get it, but I can tell you right now that 99% of the people listening to this don't understand what I'm talking about, because we understand the biblical story through a Christian lens that is Western and has very little to do with the word of the Lord that was raised up and brought to bear in Mesopotamia. So there's so many things that we need to go back to and be restored to. But anyway, I just wanted to come on here and tell you, when you watch this video clip, you're going to see an infiltration on the college campuses. You're going to see infiltration in the high schools. And now you're seeing the sexual immorality thing happening in the grade schools, and middle schools, and even in kindergarten. You're going to understand that the southern border of the United States of America is erased, and all kinds of people are pouring into this nation. You're going to see the corruption and all of the things happening in our government, particularly against Donald Trump. It's all coordinated. It's all coordinated. But the thing I hope you see first and foremost is that the God of the Bible, if he is in fact who he is, he has pulled his hand of protection off of the United States of America, and the United States of America has become a godless heap on the history books, and it's just ready to burn. And I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you as much as I possibly can with my limited ability to communicate this stuff. The United States of America is in big, big, big trouble. And we're going to see that play out real soon. So I'm really, really encouraging you. There's such a saying as to teshuvah, to return. We need to return to the principles of, my wife is telling me it looks better. We need to return to the biblical principles that fostered life and freedom. The United States of America. I mean, I was just watching today that they're going to introduce a mileage thing or something. I can't remember what it was in New York City. They're going to charge you in New York City to drive your car. Okay. And what you don't understand is these things, not only are they taking your money, but they're controlling your freedom. And we've seen so much of that, COVID being the biggest example of how we've lost our freedoms and the governments are dictating terms with the corruption and all of the things that we see happening. Now, I don't imagine Facebook is going to allow this, and I don't imagine YouTube will. Wimkin, I'm sure they will. I hope this thing is streaming on Wimkin. I'm having a heck of a time figuring out how to stream on Wimkin. Anyway, this is Jeff. I'm going to have a young man by the name of Bobby Gerby on my program this next Wednesday. He is as country as you can get, but he started asking questions about what he was taught in the Bible Belt. And I think it's an important conversation to have. And I also think it's an important conversation for the Bible Belt people to hear. So he's going to be joining me next Wednesday. This is Jeff. Have a great afternoon. This is Sunday, May 5th. So look for the video because I've clipped it and I've attached it. And I want you to understand how much money, Islamic money, has bought and paid for a lot of the protests that you see happening throughout the United States of America. God bless you guys. Bye-bye.